Hi, welcome to Street Priest Ministries. I'm your host, Brother Jay, as we're taking the gospels back to the streets. Today's drive-through message is Sarah, the promised seed. So turn in your Bibles to Genesis 16, chapter 1. Now, Sarah was a very blessed woman in the Bible, and she fits in the category of the women that was barren. It was stated that a few times. Several women in the Bible was barren. And these women that were barren, usually it was a miracle child, or a prophet of some type that was to proceed forth from this woman. And a miracle always preceded it. And it's no different here in this case. Here you have the promised seed, Isaac. And we're going to get into a female heroine of the Bible, Sarah, and focus on her role in the scripture as a godly woman. You have bad examples in the Bible of women, and you have outstanding examples of a woman of God, but yet with flaws. And we're going to point out her flaws. Nobody's perfect. We're all sinners. But yet she's in high cotton for as a godly woman. And what a godly woman is supposed to look like. It's in spite of her flaws. All right, Genesis chapter 16, verse 1. Now Sarah, Abraham's wife, bare him no children. She had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. Now, to give you a little backdrop on how she got Hagar, Abraham, like I said, these people weren't perfect. Abraham, who's a Hyksos king, the shepherd king, he's already blessed by God with cattle and sheep and all that. He was a shepherd king, Hyksos. And the Egyptians had a long-standing beef with waves of Hyksos, kings that had come through here. And he wasn't the first wave. His family was before him. Shem. And so they didn't have a pretty good standing with shepherd kings. Now, the Egyptians are the descendants of Ham. And don't forget that God cursed Cain, Ham's firstborn, for looking in on the tent with his dad, Noah, as he was doing his thing in the tent drunk. I already taught on it. You can get teaching on Noah. And I taught what he was doing. But anyway, that's not the point right now. But anyway, they spied on him, and then he ran back and gossiped to his brothers, and he was cursed. So there's been a long-standing beef with Ham's descendants, the Canaanites, and the Egyptians were part of it. His descendants, his lineage. And the Hyksos kings, Shem's line. And remember, these lines and seeds are at war. Since God had prophesied it back in Adam's day, where he said the seed of the woman would be at war with the seed of the serpent seed. Part of that seed was contamination with the giants and genetic twisting or polluting of the gene pool by the Nephilim. the Watchers that came down. Get the book on if you want to know or learn about that stuff. I taught on the Book of Enoch. Brother Jay Reeves. Look that up on the social media sites. You can. I taught on the whole book. It was 6 volumes, so you can get the teaching. But anyway, God was trying to keep this line pure and told them not to mix with the locals because of it wasn't about racism. It's racists have tried to use in history to keep their so-called genetic list. Everything's mixed now. But the point I'm making, God was doing it for a reason. Because of the giants that had polluted the gene pool. So Abraham had to go and marry in his own family. And Sarah is his uncle's daughter, Haran. So that makes him technically, well, actually it does, makes him a half-sister. So he married his half-sister. And don't forget the genetic gene pool was a lot stronger. You can get away with it then as the gene pool started to deteriorate and to break down. God forbade, through the Mosaic laws, the mixing of brothers and sisters and what we call incest. Because the gene pool got weak in it. If you ever seen people that, you know, you can go look at the Appalachian Mountains. See, mongoloids, that's what it produces. Genetic mutants. Big heads, big eyes, teeth, jacked up, crazy, insane. That's part of what's going on in Europe. Too much inbred. And it shows. Inbreeding. So anyway, that's why God changed the laws. But the point I'm making is, he married his half-sister. All right, so let's go ahead, Genesis 16. Now Sarah, Abraham's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, and an Egyptian whose name was Hagar. Oh, I didn't finish the story. Anyway, Abraham went down to Egypt, lied, said, this is my sister. Technically, he told the truth, but he was married to his sister, so it's his wife. So it was half lie, but it's still a lie. Like 10% of a lie. I mean, you can have 90% truth, 10% lie, still a lie. Just a good lie. So a better lie, but still a lie. And the king almost slept with her. He pimped her out. Abraham tilted his brain, turned into a pimp. And he said, hey, this king will kill me if he finds out you so fine, Sarah. You such an attractive woman. I'll lose my head behind you. Every man want to get at you. So we're going to lie. Whatever the king wants, the king gets. So Pharaoh almost slept with her. An angel came and put a plague on him and backed him up and told him not to touch him. And God had sent an angel to save his own wife. So Abraham was a pimp and a liar. See, I'm here to shred the traditions to make void the word of God. These are people just like us. But anyway, he got rich behind that. The king was so scared because of that angel. You can read about it in detail in the Apocrypha. I believe the book of Joshua talks about it in depth. But anyway, he was so terrified that he gave Abraham all this gold and silver and jewels. He came out of there. He was already wealthy, but he went from millionaire like to billionaire. Because now he had the gold and all that beside the cow. And he also threw in some servants. And Hagar is one of them. Or slaves. Let's keep it real. They had fancy King James, but their servants' words doulos. The servants, they're slaves. So he threw some slaves in there. Now Abraham's wife bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Abraham said and Sarai said unto Abraham, behold, now the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. Now God had promised him that through Sarah, that they would have the promised seed, come through him, or come through her and him. And now they're getting up in age. Around this time, Abraham's 86, 87. He's 10 years older than her, so that puts her around 76. So she's saying things are drying up here, and we better get busy and come up with a plan to save God, because I ain't getting no younger. I ain't no spring chicken with no spring egg. And you definitely ain't, you old goat. You know, you probably need some Viagra or something. Anyway. And she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, Behold, now the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. See, they engineer, they're going to make God look good. They say, well, God forgot about it, so we're going to make him look good. I pray thee, go into my handmaid. Now pay very close attention. He said, go screw, him in King James with their fancy words. Go have intercourse. Go screw my slave girl, my servant girl. She's a bondwoman, a slave woman. Fancy King James. Now the seed is to come through Sarah, the free. She's not a slave. So Abraham's going to try, and him and Sarah had his tent meeting to try to make God look good. Because God didn't come through. And that's man's nature. God has a time set when he wants to make a move in our lives to do something. And he's moving too slow. I always said for years, God don't have a clock. But he's always on time, but he's always too slow for me. And me, I'm the type of always have the backup plans or the backup plan. I just think like that. And my thinking like that has gotten me in trouble with God in the past. Because he has a clock, he has set when he wants Brother Jay to make a move. It's like street priests. For years, I tried to get this off the ground, but it wasn't God's time. Everything clicked when it was his time. I got burnt trying. Lost globs of money. I ain't going to think about it. I get pissed off. But the point is, I got ripped off trying to make God look good. When God put it together, everything clicked. Now, and Sarah said unto him, Behold, now the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go into my handmaid. It may be that I may obtain children by her in the flesh. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarai. Now I'll bet my bottom dollar, she didn't have to horsewhip old Abraham to get into that tent with that young handmaid on her. I bet my bottom dollar on that. I can hear him now. Sorry about this, Sarah, but I guess I got to take one for the team, huh? Do my duty to serve as that booty. Take one for the team. Oh, Brother Jay, I'm shocked at what you just said. Really? You should be shocked at what Abraham did. He just did adultery with the consent of his wife. Like a menage a trois thing going somewhere. How many men would like that for your wife to say, babe, go sleep with the maid? Raise your hand. Some of you scared to death while you get a skillet upside your head. So. With your wife sitting there growling. Yeah. Well, see, that's what they did. Hey, let's read it again. And Sarah said unto Abraham, Behold, now the Lord hath restrained me from bearing, I pray thee. Go into my handmaid. Go have intercourse with her. Go up in her. All this flowery King James sometimes disgusts me. It may be that I may obtain children by her. Really. Now remember, Sarah spearheaded this. And Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarah. He listened to his wife. How many times have we read this in the Bible with a man that started with Adam and Eve? He listened, he got us in this mess in the first place. He listened to his wife. He listened to his wife. He listened to his wife. Fellas, when your wife ain't making sense and going against the grain, don't listen to her. You heard you're getting this straight from Brother Jerry. That's why God made you the head, not the tail. The buck stops at your dance, as we're going to see here. He hearkened to his wife. And Sarah, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, her maid the Egyptian, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abraham to his wife. So we clear on this. Who gave who to what? We clear, right? And he went into Hagar. Like I said, he didn't have to horse whip Abraham. I bet he practically tore the tent pegs off to get into the tent to hit it. And he went into Hagar, and she conceived. I wonder if it was a girl. It's on my mind. Well, we start over. Got hit again. And he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw she was conceived, when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress despised her in her eyes. Uh-oh. That old female jealousy thing kicked right on in there. You women know what I'm talking about. Yeah, she gave him permission. I know. Some of you thinking, well, it's her fault. Yeah, well, that sounds good in the perfect world, but she's still a female. And he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. Sarah hated. And Sarah said unto Abraham, my wrong be upon thee. She turned that around. She said, my wrong be upon, it's your fault that you listen to me. That's what she's saying. It's your fault. Why you be the man and say no? I'm so sorry. See, you take the traditional filters off the Bible. Bible's an exciting book. I said that a million times. And Sarah said to Abraham, my wrong be upon thee. It's your fault. I have given my maid unto your bosom. I'll let you go up in. I'll put it in street language. This is street priest ministry. We keep it very street here. This ain't Rufus Glitter Teeth or Smiley Saul or New Age Balaam's church. Just Brother Jay right here. We keep it street. I'll let you go up in it. And look what happened. I bet you that wasn't the first time. I bet you was sneaking out that tent and creeping into her TP when Sarah was asleep. That's just what Brother Jay, that's my conjecture. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judged between me and thee. Oh, now we're getting religious. I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judged between me and thee. So now the maid got an attitude and she's arrogant because she produced a child. So now you got warfare in the tent. But Abraham said unto Sarai, behold, thy maid is in thy hands. You the boss, Sarah. That's your bond girl. That's your slave girl. You the boss. But Abraham said unto Sarah, behold, the maid is in thy hand. Do to her as pleaseth thee. Do what you want. You got the power, Sarah. And when Sarah dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. Here's go to King James, being very flowery. She whipped the tar out of her. She whipped the stuffing out of her. She beat her. She gave her a lash. And the angel of the Lord found her by the fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way of Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarah's maid, why did you come here? She went way out in the wilderness, away from her mistress. And where are you going? So what are you doing out here? Where are you going? You're out in this wilderness. And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarah. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, return to thy mistress and submit thyself unto her hands. Humble yourself down and go back to your mistress. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered with the multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael. Ish is covenant, and Mael is a covenant of God. Behold, or because the Lord hath heard thy affliction, and he will, she's telling her about her seed, her son, and he will be a wild man. Ishmael is father of the Arabs, of the Arab nation. That's what they claim Abraham too, and they're right. He is their father too. And Ishmael is their, he is their grandfather, or the father of Ishmael. Abraham is. So they're right. And he will be a wild ass man. Said no, Arabs are going to be wild ass men. And he will be a wild ass man. His hand will be against every man. And every man's hand against him. This is going to be a wild ass bunch. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou God seest me. For she said, I have also here looked after him that seeth me. Wherefore the well was called Bershelahara. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abraham's son. And Abraham called his name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. And Abraham was 86 years old. Yeah, like I said, 86 years old. He was 86 when he had Ishmael. Now, he threw God's plan off. God might have been ready, and I'm almost certain he was, to open Sarah's womb and stir him up so he can perform for Sarah the deed to have the child. But he screwed it up. Now, threw God's plan off now. Let's see what happened. And Abraham was 86 years old. He was 86 when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abraham. And when Abraham was 99, He's 90 and 99. He threw God's plan out. Now, he was 86. That's 13 years. He's 13 years gone down the drain. And Sarah and him ain't getting no younger. And the Lord appeared unto Abraham and said to him, I am the Almighty God, El Shaddai. Walk before me, and be thou perfect. And I will make that covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abraham fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, Abraham becomes Abram, which means father of multitude. Named father, now he's father of multitude. And as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Put a circle around that, father of many nations, nations, not tribes, nations. Neither shalt thy name be any more called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham. For father of many nations I have made thee. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. Kings. Not the little chiefs of the tribe. Kings. They're going around looking. I done taught on a little bit of heraldry and the tribes, and you can get that teaching in the book of Hosea, I believe. And I think Zechariah told him. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee, in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession I will give thee, and I will be thy God. That land where Israel's sitting, that's what he's talking about. And God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant. Therefore thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you, and thy seed after thee. Every man, child among you shall be circumcised. That's the covenant, circumcision. And he shall be circumcised the flesh of your foreskins, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. What a painful covenant. Now I'm going to skip down to verse 15. And God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah. She went from mother to mother of multitude. Shall her name be. And I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. Pay close attention, of her. He told her that in the beginning. Now God is starting over just like Ishmael wasn't even there. And I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed. Abraham started cracking up. God, this is the funniest joke. Now, he's 99. And she's 89. She's 89. He's 10 years older. So to him, this was the biggest joke he ever heard. Like, come on, God, you can't be serious. It was bad enough 13 years ago. Now it's ridiculous. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And Sarah that's 90 years old bear? Still thinking in the flesh. God's Jehovah Peeler, God of impossibility. And Abraham said unto God, oh, that Ishmael might live before me. Oh, my production. We always want our production to live before God, what we produced in the flesh. Our own self-righteousness, we want to offer to God what we produce. Not what's produced, but through the fruit of the Spirit, through God's miracle. Miracle seed, which represents the Holy Spirit in our case. But this was typical. These were archetypes of the flesh versus the Spirit. The seed of the Spirit, the seed of promise. The God's Word. And Abraham said unto God, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. So since you laugh, we're going to name the child Isaac. Ashuk. 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 Means laughter. That's what it means. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and made him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget. The Arabs are rich. They're rich in oil and wealth, and they've had 12 princes come from it. Or emeralds. And I will make him a great nation, but my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. And he left off talking with him. And God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh, ouch, for their foreskin, in the selfsame day as God had said unto him. And Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Ouch. And Ishmael was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Ouch. In that self-same day was Abraham circumcised and Ishmael his son, and all the men of his house born in the house and bought with money of the stranger were circumcised with him. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent in the door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground. These are angels. Now, these angels was obviously in human form. You got angels without wings. And that's why they always had in the ancient culture to entertain a stranger, because you might be entertaining an angel. I think I've met some angels in the past, just like ordinary people, just popped out of nowhere, said some things that was on my mind, and gave me a few words of which way direction going, and that was that. But they were ordinary people. Wasn't no wings flapping and radiating light gleaming from them. They just looked just like you and I. And said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. See? And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort your hearts. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent, into Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon hearth. And Abraham